time we've been here this year. So we've got more frequent flyer miles than you can imagine. I mean, that being said, we went all through South America. This is a fourth time in Europe. I mean, if I never have to see another airplane, it's not going to bother me. But I'm sure when we come back in 27, we'll do Luxembourg.
Thank you.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you make meet and greet also?
That I don't know. Like I said, those are questions better for our agent than me.
Okay.
So.
I want to introduce myself. My name is Marcel. I'm 55 years old. I'm very happy that you're finally playing in Utrecht, because this is my hometown. Normally I travel a couple of hours to see you guys. Now about...
This is not the first time we played here.
Not?
No.
Then...
You were sleeping.
Yeah, I think so. Because I've been a fan since around...
Apparently not that big of a fan.
Don't underestimate me. But I'm in a
Hey,
fan...
I was the one that was here.
Can you remember when it was?
I remember specifically when it was, but I don't want to speak about it. It was something really bad happened that day, and my brother died
Oh,
about an hour before I went on stage.
no, that was in Tilburg.
Well, but it was here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, in the Netherlands, but I a specific...
What can I do for you? I'm
Ah,
sorry.
sorry,
I
sorry.
really don't want to talk about it.
All right, I remember. I apologize. But I got a W.A.S.P fan since I was around 18 years old. My buddies and I were always listening Guns N' Roses, Metallica, until some friend of mine came over and said, "You gotta listen to this." And I put it on, and it was the Manimal. And since then, the Manimal is always a special song for me, because that got me into W.A.S.P. So my question is, have you also got a personal song? What's your favorite and which you are most proud of?
Well, you have kids, right?
Yes.
Which one's your favorite?
I can say that. You know.
See, I can't either.
I love them all.
Well, yeah, but it's the same. When you have a lot to choose from like that, it's choosing one is impossible. I don't. If you ask that question of any artist that's made a lot of records, they won't be able to answer it. Because when you make a record, you're trying to make them all as good as they can possibly be. And I have some that might be obscure, that for one reason or another I think artistically are very good. That KFD record, that's the most creative record we ever did, but it's one of the least successful records we ever did. So the songwriter doesn't always have the final say in what happens. The public makes that decision ultimately. As a writer, you do what you think is best, and you hope for the best. That it will somehow identify with the public, but at the same time, as a writer, you only can write about what you know. And again, you hope that a lot of people can identify with that. And if they do, then it'll be successful, and if they don't, it won't. It doesn't matter how good it is. So, like I said, but trying to choose a single one, impossible. Yes, sir.
I am Mitchell, 29 years old. This guy
Half
right
his
here,
age.
This guy right here put me into the band. So this is my father.
Well, apparently he got you into more than just the band.
Yeah, now I'm here, but when he drove me to soccer practice, it's football here, but it's soccer in your country.
Really?
Okay. Yeah,
Thank
he,
you for that.
he,
What you guys don't understand, we played that over there too in school.
Yeah, I
We
know.
play
It's not
everything.
that popular.
Yeah, but no, it's bigger than you think. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he always used to drive me to soccer practice, and he always used to play Have a Song in Black. I really liked the song. I was maybe around the age of 10, max 12. I liked it, but I didn't think too much of it else. Maybe I was just too young or something, or limited internet access, or they're just bad excuses. But in my later teenage years, I finally got more smart, I think, because I researched the band more and more, and I found out about other songs as well. I went to a concert, and now I'm here. But enough about me. My question is...
I thought that was your question.
Yeah, my question is if you could briefly describe the moment when you first realized that you were making a name for yourself, because I think when you put in all the hard work and you finally starting to come to fruition, I think that must have felt amazing.
Well, let's back up a second. I mean, Heaven Sung in Black. Do you know what that song is about?
Yeah, I guess it can have multiple meanings, but I didn't really.
Well, it has a specific meaning. The American Civil War, when it was fought 150 years ago, when Abraham Lincoln, who was president at the time, got the casualty reports for there was one really big battle. It was called the Battle of Gettysburg. And it lasted for 3 days. And there was 100,000 men died there. And when he looked at the casualty reports after the battle, he said, surely tonight the heavens are hung in black. And I looked at that, and it was so poetic, the way he said it. I mean, you could tell the heartbreak that was in it. And so that was the inspiration of it. But for me, the real idea of the song is any soldier anywhere being left in a battlefield saying, don't leave me to die. That is a pitiful thought, And, in the U.S., the U.S. Marines have an expression. They say, no man left behind. That means if one of the brothers goes down in the field, you go get him. You don't leave him behind. So from that perspective, I thought that was an important idea, because again, any writer is going to look for good ideas, But as far as specifically the moment, I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to figure out a way of phrasing this where it doesn't sound arrogant. But when I was 18, Ace Frehley and I were friends, and I saw Kiss being born. And I knew Gene, and Gene knew the band that I had at the time. And so I would call Ace about once a month when Kiss were out on the road. This is the very first year they were on the road. And I'd call him up about once a month and just talk to him. Well, I called up one day and Ace wasn't there, but Gene got on the phone. And he says, what's going on? And I says, this band I'm in, I don't think it's going anywhere. And he knew the band that I was in. He knew the guys. And he says, those guys are completely full of shit. You have to leave and go do your own thing. Those guys are losers. They're never going to go anywhere. You've got to go do something on your own. He says, you've got that special thing. Go look for other guys that are just like you. So if I had to pick one moment, I'd say it was that when I was 18. It didn't have anything to do with the success that would come later. The success came because of the preparation that had happened early on. Because, the old expression, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Well, you have to study to get ready. You have to prepare yourself when that opportunity does come along, because a lot of times it won't come along twice in life. So you better be ready when it does. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Willem, I'm 49 years old. These are my neighbors.
Well, we got 55, 27.
They make me crazy out of the music.
Don't blame it on them.
I love Kill Fuck Die. Why don't you play that anymore?
Well, like I said, it wasn't a very successful record, and when you're putting a show together, you can't do what you want to do as an artist. That becomes very self-indulgent. You have to take an average of what you think the audience wants to hear. Like on Still Not Black Enough, there is a song called Scared to Death. I've been wanting to play that song for 25 years, and we just can't find a place to put it in the show anywhere. Because when we go in the rehearsal room, we have a chalkboard, and we start writing songs on the chalkboard of what we think we want to do for the tour. And we'll start out with 50 songs, and some of them make the cut and some don't. Because you have to remember that if you don't play I Want to Be Somebody or Love Machine, there's going to be a riot. So you have to take an average of what you think the people want to hear. I see bands a lot of times do things that are really, really self-indulgent, playing songs that nobody really cares about, but they want to play them. And the audience goes away very disappointed, and you hear them complaining online and things like that. They played a bunch of songs I didn't want to hear, da-da-da-da-da, so you can't do that. If you want to play those songs, play them in your rehearsal room, but you don't do that in front of the public. Yes, sir.
Who or what inspired you to form the band W.A.S.P?
poverty. You know, somebody says, what do you want to do with your career? Be a musician who eats. You know, because there's not a musician alive that I know of that doesn't have Big Mac sauce running through his veins. Because when you start, if you come from a background like I came from, or the other guys that I know, we were all really poor. Really poor. And you find out how bad you want this. Let me see what the equivalent would be. Do you think you could live on 20 euros a week?
No.
Well, in the 70s, I was living on $5 a week, and that would be the equivalent of probably 20 euros a week now. And that's what I lived on for 3 years. So we would cook up a pot of spaghetti that would last a week, or a pot of chili that would last a week, and that's how we ate. But I'm not the only one. All the guys that I knew that became successful, they'll all tell you the same story, you know. And when we got our first record deal with EMI, we signed the largest deal in history for any previously unsigned band. It was for $2.5 million in 1984. That's like 10 million now. I mean, we won the lottery overnight, and we didn't know how to act. I mean, we went from abject poverty, I mean, really bad, to having more money than we knew what to do with. But we are the exception. Not many will be able to tell that story. And I'm not saying, hey, look at me, how great it is. I'm talking about for anyone that does that, you know. So, but a lot of it too has to do with how badly you want it. How much are you willing to suffer to get what you want? Suffer now so you don't have to suffer later. Because people, you've heard the expression, once you become successful, it's harder to stay there than it is to get there in the first place. The reason being is because the pressure becomes greater. Because if you do a good record on your first record, then people expect that every time. So the pressure becomes greater and greater and greater. And after you do your first album, 5 years down the road, here comes another 15 or 20 bands that want to take your place. I'm not willing to give it up. You know, I worked too hard to get where I am. So, you know, it sounds like to me that you have ideas about maybe trying to play music.
I play drums.
But do you want to do it professionally?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, that's what you're in for. You know, that's the question you have to ask yourself. How badly do you want it? Because these aren't my rules. I didn't invent it. It's the way it is. And anybody that wants to do this, who's had success, will tell you pretty much the same story. Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad to see you healthy again. No,
Me too.
Because 2 years ago you suffered a lot of pain with your back.
It was hell.
So how do you do that these days while you are touring?
I had some great doctors that
Yeah.
helped me, but we went through almost a year of rehab where I was working 5 and 6 days a week. And when you're doing it 2 hours a day, and when you go home at night, they don't want you doing anything else because they want you to rest for the next day. But like I said, that was going on 5, 6 days a week for almost a year. It took that long to get it back, because what I did not know until about a year ago, before we started the US tour, they told me about a week before the tour started, they said most people that have the catastrophic injuries that you've had won't come back from this. They'll never play live again.
No.
But again, it goes back to his question, how bad do you want it? And for me, it wasn't just that, I just wanted my body back. It's mine, it's the only one I have. You know, I see people have injuries and they go, oh, okay, you know, my foot's not good, you know, well, I'll just live with it. Bullshit. I want my body, you know? So I'm not gonna live without it, you know? But again, I think that all comes down to how badly does someone want what they have, you know?
You're the living proof of that.
Well,
One of the people.
well, let me tell you something, rehab is lonely business. because no one can help you do it. I mean, they help you when you're in the facility for that 2 hours a day, but when you're at home at night, you know, we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anyone. And the thoughts that run through your head, am I ever going to be the same? Am I ever going to get it back? You know, because I'm on crutches and I can't get around without them, you know, and I'm asking myself, how in the world am I ever going to be able to perform again? And when you do it day after day after day, the progress is very slow. And a week feels like a month, and a month feels like a year. You know, so the progress happens very slowly. But again, when you're in a situation like that, you just put one foot in front of the other. You know, you're not going to climb the mountain in 2 minutes. You just take it a step at a time, and you hope for the best. Yes, ma'am.
That was my question.
Yeah, okay. You're up.
No, because I also wanted to know how you do it while touring.
Well, we still have some maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
I have found, it's been 2 years this year since I had all those surgeries. Because we had to go through 3 of them. They were like 2 weeks apart, each one of them. It was awful. I was under anesthesia for those 3 surgeries, a total of 24 hours. That's a lot of anesthesia.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to get that out of your system, you know, when you've had that much. But like I said, it's just something you have to do a little at a time. You're not going to do it overnight. And you just, you know, you really, yeah, I find you have to get your mind right. And you say, I'm not going to settle for less than what I think I can get. And that really is the key, I think, to anything in life. You know, again, all comes down to how bad do you want it. Yes, sir.
I became a W.A.S.P fan through the albums On Holy Terror, Die for the World, the Neon God albums. I have them all on CD, but I'm a vinyl collector, a vinyl guy. Will they ever be available? And are you in the future going to do something special around the Neon God albums, a box set or a show? Or
Well, the first part of your question, we're in negotiations right now to get those records back from the record company. They have no desire to do anything, but one thing you discover when you start making records, record companies have huge catalogs. And even though they don't use them, they don't like giving them away. It's part of their foundation. So to get them back, a lot of times you have to pay more than it's really worth. So we're in the middle of negotiating all of that right now, and I believe we're very close. Hopefully, I would hope that we would know something before this tour is finished. I hope, you know. But as far as Neon God, I'm concentrating on the first part of your question. That's the thing that's the most important for me right now, is to get those other records back first. Then we'll worry about the other ones later. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Frank. I'm a writer.
Frank, you're what?
A writer.
Me too.
Yes, you write songs, I write books. I wrote
Well, I'm writing a book.
8, so I can fully imagine what you say about no favorite song. They are like your children. You can't
Yeah,
choose.
well, I'll pick a chapter out of one of your books. You know.
Yeah, agree. Anyway, it's my second meet and greet. My first one was with Meatloaf. Also having back problems, I understood in those days. But my question, you have a very special sound. It's a sound we all love here. I try to say it right in English. There's a screamy effect in it. But is it your natural voice? And do you never have voice problems? Because your voice now sounds different from on stage.
Well, some singers sound exactly like they talk. Some don't. I'm one of those guys that doesn't sound like they talk, you know. So I also think a lot of what we do in rock, in the rock community, lead singers are actors. We act out the lyrics. You know, Bruce Dickinson does it, Hetfield does it, I do it, a lot of guys do it, you know. And we look at the lyrics like it's a one-man play, you know. And so when you're writing the lyrics, you're envisioning how you're going to deliver them, you know. So I'll give an example, and I've used this example before, but it'll make sense to you. When I was doing The Idol, in Chainsaw Charlie, there's a line in that says, "Welcome to the morgue, boy." And when I wrote that line, I knew exactly how I wanted to deliver it. I heard it in my head, I saw it, I knew exactly what I wanted it to be. And when it come time to actually sing it, the first couple of times I tried it, it didn't sound anything like I heard it in my head. So I kept working on it, until I got it to sound exactly the way I had envisioned it. So like I said, there's a lot of acting that goes on with that. So I think anybody that acts out lyrics, they're probably, especially when you mentioned the screaming portion of it, when you start getting really loud, it starts to change the timbre of your voice and the way you sound. And that's for everyone, you know, because most of the guys I know that sing rock, they don't sound the same when they talk. Because again, you know, they're singing loudly, they're acting, so that changes a lot. I mean, the country western guys, you know, they don't sing very loud, so they sound a lot like they do when they talk. You know, it's a melodic extension of their natural voice. You know, but rock singers, it's pretty different because it's a lot louder.
You never have voice problems.
Oh yeah, I had a huge problem in '83 before our first record came out. I ruptured the left side of my voice, and there was a flu going around. It was a viral laryngitis, and everyone that got it couldn't speak. They'd like that. I got it, but I didn't sound like that when I talked because all the years of singing, my muscle in my throat or my voice was more developed than other people. So I could talk and I sounded okay, even though I was ill. But I went into rehearsal one day and I tried to sing and I wasn't getting loose. And I kept cracking while I was singing. And I thought, well, I just need to get a little loose, you know, and I kept pushing. And finally, about 30 minutes into, I couldn't speak. And that went on for about 3 days. I couldn't speak, and I thought, well, I better go see a doctor. So there's a voice specialist. His name was Ed Cantor. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, but he was over in Beverly Hills, and he was the foremost voice specialist in the world. When you went into his office, like most doctors have their certificates on the wall of the schools they went to and things like that. Not this guy. He had gold and platinum records, floor to ceiling, all the way around. Frank Sinatra, Stevie Nicks, Rod Stewart, I mean, everybody whose careers he had saved, right? So I went in there and he examined me, and they stick a camera, they put it down your throat, and you can see on the monitor what's going on. The right side of my voice was pink, perfect, healthy, looked great. The left side looked like raw hamburger meat. It was bloody. You know, and he says, you got a problem here. So he says, all right, if you do what I tell you to do, I can get you through this. You'll probably never sound the same, but I'll get you through this and you'll be able to sing again. He goes, how good? I don't know, but I'll get you through it. So it was, in many ways, identical to the rehab that I just went through, because they can't promise you anything. So he told me, he says, first thing you do is you don't speak for 9 weeks. You don't talk to anyone. You go to a restaurant, you carry a pen and a pad of paper. Phone rings at home, you let it ring. You don't laugh, you don't cough unless you just have to. You do not speak anyhow, anyway to anyone. And he kept saying to me, if you do what I tell you to, I'll get you through this. If you do not follow my instructions specifically, you will never sing again. And he kept saying it over again. If you do this, you'll be okay. If you don't do this, you'll never sing again. If you don't do this, you'll be okay. You'll never sing again. I mean, by the time I left there, I was scared to death to talk, you know. I don't know if you've ever gone 9 days without speaking. Try 9 weeks. Try 9 hours. I mean, you don't realize how much we communicate verbally to each other. And at the end of 9, and he told me, he says, halfway through, you're going to start to feel a little better. And the anxiety is going to start to get to you. But I caution you, do not test that voice. You'll wreck everything that you just did. You'll never sing again. He just kept saying it over and over and over. Put the fear of God in me. And he says, and he's looking at my voice with a camera, and he goes, you sing pretty loud, don't you? And I says, yeah, how'd you know? He goes, I could tell. He goes, I've seen these before. He says, but you don't have a sign of a node on your throat. He says, and for the volume you sing, he says, if you don't have it by now, you're never going to have it. He told me, he says, I removed 9 of them from Natalie Cole's voice earlier that week. He says, and she don't sing near the volume you sing. So he says, if you don't have them by now, he says, you're one of those lucky people. So I did what he said, and it took about a year to really get it back. And I learned little tricks along the way. And quite honestly, I'm better now than I was before the accident. So it was a blessing in disguise, but it was terrifying to go through. Yes, sir.
Hi, Blackie. Thank you for being here, and
Thanks.
glad to see you on your foot again.
Feet.
Plural.
Sorry. I'll take one if that's all.
Well, it's better to
I'll hop on
better one than nothing.
That's true.
I'm just curious about on the past albums, you always got a cover on it, and
Not always.
not always, yes, but on the first 4 or 5 albums, there are always a cover, and I was curious, how do you select these covers, or are they from bands that you adore or something else?
There weren't covers on the first 2 records.
The-
We didn't. The first cover we did covers for B-sides.
Yes.
Okay, now that's different
Okay.
because the contract we had with EMI, it was very unusual. Our contract, and I won't even begin to explain why, but our contract was written that we got paid double for A-sides of singles. We didn't get paid at all for the B-sides. Now you say, well, what's the difference? Because it's the same amount of money, right? I mean, if you, let's say a 45 sold for €1, which it was more, but we'll just say €1. That meant we got 50 cents for each side if we got paid twice for the A side, but we didn't get anything for the B side. But the reason it was like that was for publishing purposes. So we weren't getting paid for B sides. So why should we use our own songs for B sides if we're not going to get paid for them? So we decided, it was a very unusual contract. I don't know if anybody that's ever had that before. So that was the reason that we started choosing songs that we liked, you know. And even when I Don't Need No Doctor ended up on the Circus record, that was not going to be part of the album.
Yeah.
You know, it too was going to be a B-side, but when it was finished, we went, whoa, this ain't bad. You know, maybe we ought to think about it. Same thing with Real Me. That was not supposed to be on the album either, you know, and it ended up being part of the record because they turned out well. So again, it was more of a contractual thing than us making the decision, oh, we just want to put these on the records. So kind of complicated, but
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Hi, we met a few weeks ago and I told you about my back also.
remember.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot better now. I've also had like therapy and stuff, so I'm glad to be here. My question is...
Glad to be anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, true. My question is a bit unorthodox, but I know it's been asked before and I know you've done it before. But are you still carrying your normal t-shirts you wear on stage in your bag or something? Or just...
T-shirts?
Yeah, like the 42 years or the 40 years that you wear on stage.
Well, I'm not wearing those now.
No, but do you still have them like as a spare or a backup?
No, I have a backup. The shirt that I'm wearing now, or the top that I'm wearing now, I have a backup for that.
Ah.
So all the ones that we were using before, they're back in California.
Oh.
So it's all right. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm Nika, and it's great to finally meet you in person.
you.
It's a pleasure and
You
a
too.
real honor. Yeah, I had a question. When you started singing, when did you know, like, oh, this is my voice, this is
It took a
how I'm
while
gonna
to find
sing,
it.
or
Yeah.
experiment a
Because
bit?
when you're younger, you don't really know what that is, you know. And I, like most people, where I came from, we all started singing in the church, you know. And you don't sound the same in church like you would, you know, blind in Texas. You know? I'm blind in the pulpit. A little religious humor, very little. But it was probably, I was about 17 when I really started to discover, because there was some guys that I was just absolutely, I couldn't, the first time I heard Noddy Holder from Slade, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I didn't know a human being could make a sound like that. And then Steve Marriott from Humble Pie, Dave Peverett from Foghat, and certainly Paul Rogers. But Paul Rogers didn't sound like those other three. Those other three guys, it was just brute power that came out of those guys. And I heard that, and I thought, that's what I want to do. So when you listen, especially Noddy Holder, when you listen to the tone of his voice, you realize, as your question, you know, he's not using his speaking voice. You know, that, as a matter of fact, when you hear Noddy speak, it's shocking, you know, because he doesn't sound anything like he does when he sings, you know. But the power that came out of him, I saw Slade probably, I think, 3 times. And each time I saw him, I was very close to the stage. And it was just like, he's up there roaring like a lion, you know, and you realize, okay, if you want to do that, then you're going to have to step it up. You're going to have to get louder. And it's a muscle like anything else, and you have to develop it, you know. And hopefully you have good parents along the way that gave you the proper genes to be able to do it. Because like we were saying about that doctor before, when he said I didn't have any nodes in my throat, most guys that sing loud will develop that, you know, and it's not something you control or can control, it's something you're born with, you know. So I've just been really fortunate my whole life. I've been very resilient. Every time, I mean, you guys don't know the half of it. I mean, I've had 5 shoulder surgeries. I can't tell you how many things I've broken. You know, I've got my money's worth out of this body, you know, because I was always doing something active. I mean, I was never, anything that ever happened wasn't because of an illness. It's because I broke something, you know, because I just didn't want to sit around, you know. I mean, the 5 shoulder surgeries, that was from playing American football when I was in school, that I still deal with to this day because I destroyed them playing football. You know, like I said, I can't tell you how many things I've broken. I mean, I broke my left foot in 5 places, my right femur, my back, my wrist, my nose. I can't tell you how many ribs, a couple of dozen ribs probably.
You're a miracle, living miracle.
No, I broke my back twice. Sorry. Once in Spain. Well, both times in Spain, actually.
You said that the last time, yeah.
So, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff because when you get that many injuries, it's just. But I've been really fortunate, like I said, to be able to just come back. You know, it's just like, and I sometimes take it for granted, you know, because I look at other people, you know, they have injuries and they walk around like Quasimodo, you know, and I look at them and I don't want to do that, you know. But like I said, I've been extremely fortunate. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to work.
Okay.
Thanks, guys, for coming.